Hello everyone and welcome to Money Kayes. Today we are going to see the Hindu newspaper for the date 21st January. The three major articles that we are going to see is the Amrit Dharohar Capacity Building Scheme 2023. This is basically related to wetlands. The next is that Government of India is planning to have more internal security by checking the Myanmar border and Naxal issue in India. The third is conflict in West Asia, which has been going for months now. Let us start with the first article first. The Amrit Dharohar scheme. This scheme is actually related to Ramsar sites, ecologically sensitive areas. The Ramsar sites are also called as ecologically sensitive areas, aka Ramsar sites. There are basically 16 Ramsar sites chosen as per this scheme under the initiative. 5 of them has been taken as a pilot project, and 5 of them are: the first is the Chilka Lake, that is in Odisha. It is one of the first wetlands in India, so it's very important. Sirpur in Madhya Pradesh, Yashwant Sagar in Madhya Pradesh again, Sultanpur National Park in Haryana, and Bhitarkanika in Odisha. So you have to make sure that you remember these 5 wetlands as per because the government has taken a lot of initiatives in the Ramsar sites. Just showing you with the map, these are the 5 wetlands which has been taken under the scheme. You can see the Chilka Lake, it's in Odisha, Bhitarkanika, Sultanpur National Park, Yashwant Sagar in MP, and Sirpur in MP. This is Madhya Pradesh, this is Haryana, this is Odisha. So make sure that you know these places very well. Whenever a question is being asked, you are able to correlate in match the following type of question these are actually asked. So take a good look of it. This scheme was a part of the budget that the government actually brings it every year. Last year it was brought in the budget and launched in 2023, June 2023. It was to promote the unique conservation values of Ramsar sites, also generating the employment opportunities and supporting the local livelihoods. Two ministries are involved in this. Very important, again a part of the question, that is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and Ministry of Tourism. Tourism, because we are trying to promote tourism in these ecologically sensitive areas, and Ministry of Environment because the wetlands are involved here. Now, whenever a question is asked about a wetland, you have to make sure that you write the proper definition. And this is one of the best crux line about a wetland. What is a wetland? Wetland occur whenever water and land meets. It's a conflux of two places. Number one, water and land. And whenever these two meet, we call it as wetland. These unique habitats include mangroves, peatlands, marsh, rivers and lakes deltas, floodplains and flooded forests. Rice fields are also included in wetlands, and even coral reefs. Healthy wetlands are central to solving the interconnected climate, biodiversity and water crisis. See, whenever there is a flood also, the wetlands play a very good role as a buffer zone. Let's say a wetland, very famous wetland in Assam is the Deepor Bill. Deepor Bill actually plays a buffer like area. When the Brahmaputra flows beyond a certain margin, it tends to attract more of the water from it. And hence, as a buffer state, the city of Guwahati and the nearby areas are also protected due to it. And obviously, it acts as a very good source of biodiversity. Very famous for the various migratory birds that come to India from Central Asia and from Russia as well. And it also plays a major role when the birds flow from the northern belt, the northern part of the continent to the southern part. Now we see Ramsar site. It is a wetland designated to be of international importance, undertaken by environmental treaty signed in February 1971 as Ramsar, Iran under UNESCO. It's Ramsar is actually a place in Iran. Now, current situation is that there are approximately 75 Ramsar sites in India, the number of Ramsar sites has been growing tremendously in the recent past. Number of Ramsar sites has been named in the state of UP and other states. So which we have already discussed. Chilka Lake in Odisha and Keoladeo in Rajasthan were the first wetlands to be recognized as Ramsar sites in India. Mind you, these were already wetlands and has been categorized as Ramsar sites under the Ramsar Convention. Sites with highest Ramsar sites, as I have already mentioned, number of Ramsar sites have been increasing in certain states such as UP. And one major accord related to Ramsar is the Montreux record. Montreux record is basically something which tend to have certain vulnerability and the government trying to protect it. Chilka Lake was one of them, and other Ramsar sites, for example, in Manipur, there is one also a Ramsar site which was there in this record. The second article is Government of India. Actually, it should be of the Myanmar border and the Naxal issue. Context: on the 60th foundation day of SSB, the Honorable Home Minister said that entire country would be 100% free from the Naxal problem within the next 3 years. The second is he also added that the government is considering the free movement regime between India and Myanmar to be ended. Now you can just have a look about this map. See, you can see this is the Myanmar, this is Bhutan, this is Nepal, and this is Bangladesh. India has one of the highest, border area properly fenced, and specifically India and Bangladesh border is doubly fenced, trying to curb the human trafficking, the animal trafficking, and any law and order situation between India and Bangladesh. So this is a very important map you need to know, and also because this area is connected with the Chicken Neck Corridor. This is a very vulnerable part. Mostly you come across the word Chicken Neck Corridor in the newspaper, and you have to make sure that you know this area. This is the Chicken Neck Corridor. One of the choke points, one of the most vulnerable points that Indian government takes care of it very well, because we have China here and it's a potential threat. So the government is paying so much attention that it's trying to kind of bridge the gap between the mainland India and the northeastern part of the country. And that's why India is planning to have a doubly fenced, like we have in case of India and Bangladesh sort of border. So this is the main which the Home Minister has recently announced in the anniversary of 68th foundation day of SSB. Now, in detail, if you see, India is planning to end its free movement regime. What is free movement regime? It's very important to know that India, as a part of its diplomacy Act East policy of India, it was initially look east. The government, when the Prime Minister Modi came into picture, it came from look east to act east. We are not just looking east, but we are acting east also. So, as a proposal of that, free movement regime was implemented in 2018 as a part of India's Act East policy. Very, very important. Standalone question can come on it in the mains examination. It allowed its residents of both countries living along the border to travel up to 16 kilometer. Up to 16 kilometer you can travel without a visa. Visa is not required, right? And why does it allow? Because people from both the sides live, certain ethnicities there, like say for example certain tribes in Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram live in the same way they are living in Myanmar. So in order to have a certain connection between the local people there, this is allowed, right? The same is also allowed in India and Nepal border. Some people, we call it as very famously called as roti beti ka rishta, right? We have a sort of diplomacy in India and Nepal that has been, if you trace the inception, is right from when Ayodhya and Janakpur were having a relationship, right? It's from that time. So the bond between India and Nepal is very old. Similar way, certain sort of ethnic tribes live in both the parts of the country and they are trying to establish a relation, and that's why it was allowed. Government will soon fence. Now the government has planned, because there is certain change of demography, there's certain case of infiltration, security issues are there. That's why government is planning to fence this 1643-kilometer border between India and Myanmar. Mind you, this is an international border and the government is trying to kind of fence it. And we have already done one of our landmark achievement has been for Bangladesh. India has also dual fenced its 4096-kilometer border with Bangladesh, and it is one of the longest international border that India has, right, which we have already fenced. Why do we do it? Because it will ensure security. Security is the prime most concern for the government, for the people in general also, because we are surrounded by a very vulnerable kind of hostile neighborhood. That's why we need to make sure that our internal security is very robust. We are making use of our hard forces. We have made our surgical strikes also. We have doubly checked our military expenditure also in terms of procurement from other countries, for example USA, Russia, China. We are trying to engage in multiple diplomacy also, checking trafficking, prevent illegal entry from the Myanmar border, check the demographic change. See, some 30,000 Chin people from civil war torn Myanmar has already taken shelter in Mizoram since February 2020. So this is changing the demography of the region, and as a reason, the conflict is being taken place in Northeast, which the government doesn't want, right? After this, Government of India in the same meeting of SSB, the Home Minister also said that Government of India is actually also planning to tackle the Naxal issue. Now, in this issue, it was originated as a Naxalbari movement in West Bengal in 1967, and as per the annual report of the Ministry of Home Affairs 2021, its spread is now limited to 46 districts. We are able to curtail the, if we take a chart, let's say it was during the independence, and let's see the time now, the trend has been declining in terms of Naxal attacks, in terms of the death that is happening due to the number of Naxal attacks that has been taking in the red corridor, which we famously called as, and you can also see the states which were impacted. We also very famously called this Naxal Bari movement as from Tirupati to Pashupati, from Pashupati to Tirupati. This corridor is known as the Red Corridor. So the government is trying to reduce. Naxal Bari will end in 3 years. That's the government's plan. This is a brief outline as to how the Naxalbari movement started. 1947, post-independence, there was a failure of land reforms. Land reforms is a very important topic in GS paper 3, and also in post-independence, we tend to read about land reforms. It was not 100% a success. There was certain success achieved in land reform, but by and large, it failed in certain areas in Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha. As a result of which, there was a Communist Party started conducting Kisan Sabha in order to resolve the grievances of the poor farmers. Right. In 1962, the Indo-China conflict occurred, and as a result, the CPI actually got divided into 2 phases. The first phase was CPI Marxist, and the other was CPI in general. In 1965, CPI organized Kisan Sabha in Siliguri. Siliguri is, let's say, a district in West Bengal under the chairmanship of Charu Majumdar. Charu Majumdar was the one of the backbones of the Naxalbari movement in India, as a result of which a group of discontent among tribals and under the influence of Charu Mazumdar it took place. On 25th May 1967, police opened fire, and due to which lot many people lost their lives, and the Naxalbari movement actually took its shape. So that's why we say in 1967 the Naxalbari movement started in India, but obviously its inception has been due to multiple other factors. I hope you take a screenshot of it, and whenever you want to refer, you can refer it again. Now, obviously, the Home Minister has said a few things about the India-Myanmar border and about Naxalbari in SSB meet 60th Foundation Day, right? So, SSB Sahastra Seema Bal, it was actually established in 1963 in the aftermath of Chinese aggression in 1962. It is under the aegis of Ministry of Home Affairs. So whenever a question comes in the prelims examination, you have to make sure that a question related to ministry is asked, that Sahastra Seema Bal is under the aegis of which ministry, or let's say mandated under the which ministry. So it's under the Ministry of Home Affairs, MOHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. To promote a sense of security, Why was it formed? To promote a sense of security among the people living in the border areas, as we have just discussed in case of Myanmar, right? Prevent transboundary crimes and unauthorized entry into the and exit from the Indian territory. It helps in preventing the migration, which is not in a legal way, to prevent smuggling across the borders and other illegal activities on the frontiers. It's the guarding borders with the India, with Nepal and Bhutan. Basically, SSB has two main functions of bordering the Nepal border and the Bhutan border. It is one of the 7 central armed police forces. CAPF will look into the internal security classes in more detail. This is just to give you a brief idea about the same. Now, the third topic is a very important topic which has been going for months now. West Asia is in flux. West Asia is in flux. We have been hearing it. We have been reading about it time and again. There are multiple factors. There are multiple stakeholders in this. Because of that, this area is very volatile. That's why we are saying West Asia is in a flux. It's also called as a polycentric struggle right now going on, because there are a number of stakeholders involved. Obviously, there are state actors, and there are non-state actors. What do we mean by state actors? State actors mean basically the government of the countries. For example, Iran is involved. For example, Israel is involved. For example, USA is involved. And what are the non-state actors? Non-state actors are basically the terrorist organization, or which has not government in general. For example, Hezbollah, Houthis. These are basically terrorist organizations and cannot be called as a state. Hezbollah is there, Houthis is there, Iran. Obviously, Iran, Pakistan, and USA are state actors. Hezbollah and Houthis are non-state actors. So both of them are involved, and the conflict tends to be expanding at a rapid pace. So from this article, we get to have a very few basic details that I want you to know. And UPSC tend to ask this: which militant organization is from which area? For example, Hezbollah is a Lebanese Shia group. Hezbollah is a Lebanese Shia group backed by Iran. Houthis, the Shia militants of Yemen, start attacking commercial vehicles in the Red Sea. Again, Red Sea is a very important area. Houthis control the Yemen part and the Red Sea coast. Hashad al-Shabaz, the Shia mobilization forces of Iraq and Syria, are also backed by Iran. So you tend to have an idea that Iran is basically a Shia country and it backs the militant organization, which is basically, if we say, a Shia based organization. For example, Hezbollah is there. For example, Houthis are there. For example, Hashad al-Shabaz is there. Right? So just try to have an idea. And right now we are going to see a broader picture in like how Asia is divided into many parts. I hope it will give you a certain amount of idea and confidence whenever you are attempting a certain question in the examination. For example, area where we live is, we call the famous SARC in Southern Asia. The second is Southeastern Asia. The famous organization here is ASEAN. Apart from that, Eastern Asia, we have the China, we have Mongolia. Northern Asia, we have Russia. And in Central Asia, we have the 5 major countries, including Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. These are the 5 major parts, and in the extended neighborhood of India. What is extended neighborhood? Just the immediate neighborhood is the extended neighborhood. And the topic that we are discussing today is Western Asia. See, the most important countries are here: Iran, Iraq, Syria, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, one of the major partners of the various countries in this area. So try to have an idea whenever a question is coming, or let's say in international relation, you can make use of diagram also here. The final slide, we are going to have a look on how these players have been playing in this area. For example, I just talked about Saudi Arabia. Yemen, the rebel group is Houthis. We have already discussed that, right? Pakistan tend to attack Iran. Iran tend to have an impact on Pakistan. So this was the whole play which was going in West Asia. I hope this was helpful. There are other 2 articles in the newspaper today. That is about a migrant laborer. We have already posted on Instagram page. And the second is about the cyber security. I hope you read about it. And from tomorrow onwards, we are trying to bring the Hindu newspaper. We'll show the newspaper and how do you go about preparing the newspaper and important articles about the thing. Hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching.